This panel is made possible by the VIEWConference, the biggest computer graphics conference in Italy. Our dates for 2022 are from the 16th to the 21st of October. We hope to see you in Italy or online. For more information about VIEWConference, please visit our website.
Hello everyone, my name is Ramin Zahed. I'm the editor-in-chief of Animation Magazine and also thrilled to be your moderator for this panel, which features all the Academy Award nominated shorts in the Best Animated category. And we are very proud to have all the nominees here with us today. This panel is sponsored by the VIEWConference in Italy in participation with the VFX Festival. Okay, without further ado, let me introduce our brilliant panelists with us today. We have Anton Dyakov, the director of Box Ballet with us. We have Mikey Please, the director of Robin Robin.
Hello.
Hello, Mikey. We've got the director and writer and producer of the wonderful short Affairs of the Art, Joanna Quinn and Les Mills.
Hi.
Hello, you guys. We have Tevo Diaz, the producer of Bestia, and Hugo Covarrubias, the director of Bestia. Hello, guys.
How are you? Hello.
Hi.
Thank you for inviting us.
Good to have you. Dan Ojari, the co-director of Robin Robin, is with us with his headphones on. Hello, Dan.
Hello there. No one else brought headphones. Oh no.
It's good. It's
No,
good.
me too.
Yeah, you look very stylish.
He knows what he's doing.
And last but not least, we have Leo Sánchez, the producer of Windshield Wiper. Hello, Leo.
Hello everyone.
Hello.
Thank you
How
for
you
having
doing?
us.
And Alberto Mielgo joining us, the director of Windshield Wiper. Thank you for joining us. And I guess we can get things started by you all telling us a little bit about your shorts and how you became inspired to create it. Just a little bit about the inspiration and when you started working on it. Anton, since you're the first one here, let's go.
Well, this is maybe, I don't know, 100th time that I'm telling this story. This is a story of life, a little over 15 minutes. And if you remove all the political or personal motives, I think that it is just an attempt to combine something that is so different, something that is brutal and something that is very nimble, static and dynamic. And this is my attempt to tell a story that is as simple as a story gets. And also for it to be entertaining.
Mikey and Dan, maybe you can tell us a little bit about Robin Robin.
Yeah, so Robin Robin came about by one day Dan and I just stumbled across this little nest of mice raising a robin, and we just looked in and there was this whole world unfolding in there. And so we just watched it for about 6 months, taking note of everything that happened, and that became the film, man. That was it. That's how it happened. Truth be told. No, I mean the story came about.
Just to be clear, that actually isn't what happened.
I was like, wow, this is the first time I'm hearing this. This is amazing.
Me and Mikey disagree on this quite, viciously, but
it's a documentary of interspecies cohabitation, and we're very proud of the realism we managed to achieve in it. Do you want to give a proper answer, Dan?
Well, for those of you that I guess haven't seen it, it's like a 30-minute stop motion animated musical about a bird that's brought up by a family of mice, as Mikey pointed out. And it's kind of the story of her trying to fit in with her siblings who are so different to her. And through her journey and through figuring out where her melody, which she sings, where that fits within the world, she sort of discovers the kind of her place. And along the way, she kind of gets wrapped up in a sort of ridiculous heist to steal a star from a Christmas tree with a magpie. But that's it. And I mean, I was saying that the origins of the story, I think, really came from me and Mikey had been making short films for a very long time and kind of loved the art form, very passionate about the art form and the festival circuit that you often get to screen them at. But one day it sort of occurred to us that a Christmas special or Christmas short film is this one anomaly where they're kind of allowed into most people's homes on Christmas Day, or especially in the UK, you know, like Raymond Briggs's Snowman, which is a really interesting and like kind of art house film about death, is somehow kind of cherished amongst the whole country. So we just thought, oh, what an amazing stage to tell a story on. It's the art form that we love, but it's got this wider appeal on for this certain project. So we started thinking about that, and it was actually my wife that mentioned a robin, and that resonated with me and Mikey because there's something about the kind of that, you know, robin redbreast in the middle of winter, which is very synonymous with Christmas in the UK, but it also has a kind of nice just sort of tonal feel that there's this little bit of warmth in what is a bleak time.
Sure. And how long did it take to produce the show?
It was about 2.5 years, the actual production, but about 6 years before that, 5 or 6 years before that, me and Mikey kind of telling the story to ourselves and anyone who would listen.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. All right. Next up, we've got Joanna and Les. Tell us about A First of the Art and how you decided to bring a familiar, beloved character back to the animation world.
Yeah, this is the fourth film starring Beryl. And yes, we had a big gap, but people kept asking us if we were going to make another Beryl, and we kept saying no. But then we gave in and decided we would. And so what we did is we went back, because Les had actually written a series which was meant to go on, I think it was Channel 4 just before the news. So there were 5 scripts, but it didn't happen. And so what we did is we got those scripts together and sort of played with them and ended up with Affairs of the Arts. That's what we did. It took 6 years and
the usual,
and a lot of drawings and a lot of animation is such hard work, but yeah, yes, we all survived.
And Beryl, what is it about this character that captures your imagination and inspires you?
Well, I love to draw her. I mean, I love the fact that when you bring her to life, she wants to do these things, but she's full of self-doubt. And it's, as an animator, it's quite a nice challenge to try and get the layers of character across when you're animating. And I think we probably did that more in this film than previous films, because I got more interested in acting and playing with, and lip sync as well. You know, I've become a fan of lip sync, which is strange. And yeah, just you know, I've become a real animator. enjoying character, you know, really enjoying character and trying to make the character appear real, you know. And I think the reason we like Beryl is that she's the underrepresented ordinary woman who never gets a look in. So and unsurprisingly, lots and lots of Beryl types love her, and I get lots of fan mails off Beryl types really chuffed that they're being represented on the screen.
Excellent. And we got Tevo and Hugo next. We were going to talk about their short Bestia, the stop motion short, which has really made an impact in Chile and around the world. Can you tell us how you were inspired to create this, how long it took, and how it has changed your lives?
And Bestia is based on true events. He explores the life of a secret police agent during the military dictatorship in Chile. And we took like around 3.5 years to complete the film, and before that, we worked like 2 years, like planning and and thinking the idea.
Yeah, it's based on real events, and it's based on parts of the life and deeds committed by a woman who worked in the secret police agency during the military dictatorship in Chile around 1975. And it's a kind of journey. It's like a nightmare journey into the darkest part of the mind of this sinister woman called 𝗕𝗙𝗙𝗪𝗏 in the real life. And this story, without dialogue, is told through the symbolism, mental imagery, and the importance of materiality. It's very an important issue in the short film. From a psychological and poetic point of view in the cinematographic treatment.
And after Hugo, we've got Leo and Alberto, who are going to tell us all about the windshield wiper.
Everything right now.
Everything in 2 minutes.
All right.
Tell us about your inspirations and the visuals and all that good stuff.
Well, the inspiration is very much my experience in love. A lot of the stories are based on things that I live from close or from pseudo close. And the reason why I wanted to do a film like that is because at the time that I started, there were not so much space for adult animation. And obviously it took us 7 years, and we did some things in the middle that they were leading animation into adult, sort of into a very cool adult journey. But still the film, that's the main point. It was the main point, just to create some sort of like a cool, different vibe. The subject that I chose, it was love, and it was something that it was not necessarily also commercial in terms of, like video game or something that perhaps is more what adult animation is going to. But yeah, it's an exploration of how our relationships nowadays, how do we interact, and how love is evolving together with society. It doesn't mean that we are happier now, but I just wanted to talk about it in this craft of animation, which is the craft that I know the best, is my favorite. Animation is a mix of every art, and I live for it. And yeah, that's very much a short sort of like disaster answer.
No, it's not a disaster at all. It's excellent.
It's a bit messy.
No. Leo, tell us about the visuals a little bit. How you helped produce the visuals with Alberto.
Yeah, we worked closer together, Alberto and I, and it was just, on my side, if I could say, from my experience, more on the character development, character creation. That's what the main thing was, to bring Alberto's vision at that point as an illustration and design to the screen, really, and to the 2D backgrounds that Alberto was painting, but also the 3D characters, and marry them all together. And then so there was quite a bit of a lot of back and forth between Alberto and and myself. And the main challenge was to, again, respect Alberto's vision and style, and find that happy balance between 2D illustration, 3D, and combining with animation. And that was really the in a nutshell, like the biggest challenge, at least initially.
Now back to Anton. Anton, you didn't tell us about the origins and how you became inspired. I know you were a teacher at some point, and tell us how that, watching the children's drawings inspired you for the subject of box ballet a little bit, perhaps.
Yes, we had classes, art classes, and I saw boys and girls drawing princesses and military people and boxers and ballerinas. And this is the first time that I saw anything of that kind. I saw those children's brains, that they were already full of the role models imposed on them by society. And that was scary, actually. Some time ago, I taught in a children's art school, and I think that we need to take time to kind of liberate the children's mind, because their minds are just full of the TV, the superheroes, and everything that is fed to them from the screen. So I think that with one of my friends, we discussed this topic, and it is something that is complex and interesting for us. And I joked that we could take those heroes or role models, and we could make a story, a separate story with those heroes. So this is one part of the genesis or the inspiration of this script. And the second part is as follows. I watched major boxing matches between Mike Tyson and Evander Holyfield. And this was actually the match where part of the ear was bitten off. And when there was a rematch, a Russian commentator for that match, when Holyfield was entering, and Holyfield is a religious person, and he used some church singing as the music to enter into the ring, and our commentator said that people welcome him as a person who made some miracle, that he was not afraid to come onto the ring. And those two things connected in my mind, the characters that children draw at school, and this story of this boxing match, and this visceral feeling that the theater stage or the boxing ring, it is all of those things are just a tip of the iceberg. That in truth, our life is what brings us to this stage or to this ring. And if you have been able to see the film, you might notice that as a share of the runtime, the scenes with boxing or the scenes with dancing, the share of those scenes is very small, right? And the reason for that is that I wanted to really show the things in between those boxing matches or ballet dances. And another goal that I had as the director is to really achieve a very stark contrast between the static scenes and dynamic scenes. And I wanted the static scenes to speak much louder than the dynamic ones. And I'm not the right person to judge what was the result, whether I managed to do that. And I think I forgot the question that you asked, but this is what this film comes from for me.
And how long did it take for you to produce the whole short?
About 2.5 years or 3 years for the script. And it is not like I was writing it throughout this time, but it was evolving, and it was not very lucky with applications for financing or production, this script. And then about 18 months of production.
Okay, next question is from Mikey and Dan. A lot of our viewers seem to be curious about why you chose the medium that you chose, the puppets are not made of plasticine like we usually associate with Aardman. Can you talk about how you chose this new medium, which is not really new, but why did you choose this, and what do you love about working with felt puppets?
I mean, we've been long admirers of the kind of the growing culture of needle felt stop motion, and though we'd done experiments with it in the past in a kind of periphery way, we hadn't brought it center stage as the way we did in Robin Robin. But yeah, in terms of it being kind of different to the Aardman aesthetic, I mean, that, Dan and I, in case people don't know, are sort of relatively new outsiders to Aardman. We've been kind of working as independent filmmakers for our whole careers, kind of up until, so this is our first sort of experience working inside a studio. And when we first approached Aardman with the project, we were kind of curious as to I wonder if there'll be a kind of a motivation to use the very successful and beautiful in-house style of claymation. But actually there wasn't. They were completely open-minded to try anything, really. And so yeah, we on our second pitch there, I think we had brought in these little Christmas decorations of needle felt characters, and there's something just sort of innately beautiful about these very, very tactile. I mean, I've got one of the guys right here. The way that they light and the way they kind of absorb the atmosphere around them. They're slightly, you can't really see it in this camera, but they're slightly translucent in a way. They sort of helps them feel alive and feel integrated in the environment. There's also lots of stuff that's similar to plasticine, you can mold it and sculpt it. So that means that on the floor with the animators, they can do things on the fly. You can kind of respond in the moment, as opposed to having to maybe 3D print things but it is also very inflexible, which is really annoying to work with as a medium. So with Robin, we wanted these really sort of defined simple shapes, but actually it's really difficult to do that. So inside we had to figure out all kind of quite complex mechanisms to keep the simplicity of the body shape, and then the felt kind of touched up itself, the line, but we did some stuff in post too.
I was going to say as well that there's something I remember early on as thinking with stop motion, the material you use is so key, I think, to how you experience. And using fabric is one of those materials that you can't really synthetically create, or at least it's very difficult to. And it sort of seems to have its own life when you photograph it. And we found that stop motion works for us anyway at its best, where you can, on one hand, you really know the material. It's very clear. You feel like you could touch it, or the thing it's made out of, you could hold it in your hand. And on the other hand, it's living and breathing, and it seemingly has a soul. And I think it's those two things happening at once on screen, which creates this sort of illusion and this magic trick that we find so exciting about the medium. So actually having needle felt and wool, which is so tactile at the center of each, every shot, I think really gives that sort of illusion and life to the film.
Thank you for that. Thank you. Joanna and Les, of course, you've been working with 2D animation for quite a while now. In fact, you were nominated in 1998 for your famous Fred short. Again, this is your second Oscar nomination. Can you tell us what you love about working in 2D handcrafted animation, and what kind of advice do you usually give to people who want to explore this medium?
It's all I've ever done, really, drawn animation. I haven't tried any model animation because I feel passionate about drawing. I mean, I'm a drawer, and for instance, in the film, there's a shot of Beryl drawing on her bedroom wall. That was me. I did that. Being an only child with parents going through a divorce, I got away with murder, So my room was covered in drawings. And my mum also once, for my birthday, because I was a drawer, she bought me an easel and with chalk. And I used to draw out of the window, observational, used to draw trees and the cars, and then I'd have to rub it out so I couldn't get precious. So I think I learned how to become an animator from that age, not being precious with your drawings. And so, yeah, drawing has just always been something that I've enjoyed and just love. It's my most favorite thing ever. So it makes me happy drawing. With this film, we actually tried to animate on TV Paint. So I thought I'd try and be modern. So we bought a Cintiq, which is down here, covered in dust. And I animated for 6 months using TV Paint. But I realized that my animation got stiffer and stiffer. I think because there are layers, you start to do labor saving things. And I think it's just a different, you have to be much more, you have to know where your pencil is going when you work digitally, because you have to tell the pencil to do something. And with pencil on paper, it's much more intuitive, I find. And so I went back. Les said, "Oh, you're so miserable. Why don't you just get your light box out again?" And I was, "No, it's going back in time. It's old fashioned." But as soon as I did, it was lovely. And then I thought, what does it matter how it's done? It's what it looks like at the end. So.
Les, we haven't heard much from you today. Can you talk a little bit about how you and Joanna work together and your lifetime partnership?
So long, it'll take us all day. Well, I met Joanna when I taught her drawing. That's the first time we got together. I was actually teaching her drawing, and I thought her drawing at that time was remarkably mature and lively and energetic. And then she went to another college, and I carried on in the place and later I ended up teaching in the college she left. And I ended up, for no apparent reason, apart from the fact that I knew Joanna, who was an animator, teaching very basic animation. And it was, I learned it the night before to be able to teach it to students, because I'd never done any, basically. I mean, I drew, because my background is fine art. So I drew a lot, and I did live drawing and all the rest of it. But in terms of animation, I just used to tell the students, because in those days it was film and a rostrum camera, I would just talk about ideas, talk about exploration, and basically telling the students to throw everything under the camera and not worry about it and just do it, basically. And they all did, and they all did the most remarkably free and inventive and exploratory stuff that I'd ever seen. You know, I thought this was fantastic. And some of those students now are like, kind of figures in animation, which is remarkable, because I really didn't know anything about it. But they managed somehow through exploration, to use their minds and their drawing skills or whatever, any material they wanted, and they came up with really, really fantastic stuff. And they'd never animated before either. So maybe that's why it succeeded. Me and them not knowing anything, working out things. And what was the question?
Well, I finished Girls' Night Out, and then
how did we get together?
Yeah, and then because Girls' Night Out won 3 prizes at Annecy, its first film festival, and I didn't even know what a film festival was, so it was really wonderful. And this was at a time when there was lots of money. Remember those days? So people wanted to give us money to make another film, and so Les wrote the script, and then I did the drawing, and I think that was the first time we got a proper commission. And
this is Body Beautiful.
Body Beautiful.
Yeah,
so it was the first. It was the Beryl film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it was very successful in Annecy, and because of the subject, I mean, it was a kind of first time that kind of sexual lusting of women had been expressed explicitly in an animated short film. Really, that's what made it popular, and people watched it. and it was popular. And just television companies just said, "We love the character, we love your animation. Can you write another script?" So I wrote a film called Body Beautiful, which featured the same character, Beryl. So that was the beginning, the genesis of Beryl's life, really.
But I think what we've always done is we haven't set up a big studio as such. We worked from home at the beginning, just we even did ads as well from home. And once we had the agency come over from America, and we had to pretend it was a studio, so we hired a photocopy and put it in the hall so it looked professional.
That's all we
had to send the cats out. So it's always been organic, you know, we've grown organically. And then when we were working on the commercials on the Charmin campaign and making films at the same time, you know, our studio grew, and, you know, we had about, how many people working for us?
About 45.
About 45 people working. But then once that had finished, it's just down to us again, you know. So I think what we wanted to do was to create a studio that didn't have too many overheads, that it was just all about the product, you know, and that we would bring people in as and when we needed. And it's worked well.
Well, we're glad you got together. That's awesome. Okay, this is for Tevo and Hugo. Can you talk a little bit about the puppets and how you chose that particular shape and texture of puppets, and also the ceramic puppets, and also tell us a little bit about how you both work together and know each other?
The puppets in Bestia. So with Constanza Bete, Constanza is the art director. We share the art direction in Bestia, by the way. So from the beginning of the first ideas, we always talk about working with a toy aesthetic or tell a macabre and dark story with that kind of aesthetic. And the idea of the dollhouse seemed interesting, but when decide to clean this kind of aesthetic, and up to those ideas, and decide to then the main character should look like a porcelain doll. That's because this woman in real world almost no expression on her face. These dolls are, and also the porcelain give us many more characteristics that fit with the psychology of the character, such as her hardness in the life, her coldness for the tortures that she made, and also her fragility. So when I decide to visit those moments of fragility of the sinister woman, it became more true this. And for the backgrounds, we decided to use a more precarious material for making a kind of contrast between the puppets and the backgrounds. So I think this material have many layers of reading, like the main character had to give to the story. So we decide to make these faces with some resins, because the porcelain is too heavy and breakable, and in terms of production, maybe it was a real problem to animate with porcelain heads. So we decide. I have the puppet. Well, like Dan or Mikey. Mikey showed the puppet, no? Yeah. Dan, do you know? Do you don't have any puppet with you? Because look, this is a kind of ceramic or porcelain, because it's made out of
resin.
Three resins. So it's like plastic, so it's more easy to animate, and if you drop the face, it doesn't break. So this is the reason. But I don't know, Tevo.
Yes, how we met. How we met. Yeah, so beautiful, huh? Hello, Ingrid. How are you?
Beautiful, yes. But a very sinister woman.
Yes. We met with Hugo like 2016. My background, I'm a documentary filmmaker, and always I do historical documentaries about Chile. And at that time, I have a friend of mine. He's the co-writer of Bestia, 𝗕𝗢𝗫𝗪𝗏 𝗪𝗡𝗏. Also, he's a theater director. And then he told me he knows this amazing animator and director, Hugo Covarrubias. And because the idea was like make stories in stop motion about Chilean history. That's the original idea. Then I met Hugo, Martin, and Constanza, and this idea begins on 2016. Yeah, basically then, and after that we are here. I had to say something, sorry, but yesterday we won like a South by Southwest Film Festival. Then we are like, oof. That's very important. Yes, yes, yes. We still, yeah.
Congratulations! That's incredible.
We still like in shock. Yes.
Congratulations! That's great news.
Thank you.
All right, we're back to Leo and Alberto. We want to talk a little bit about the amazing visuals of the short, and maybe you can talk a little bit, Alberto, about how you kind of developed this style. Well. While you were also creating some art for Spider-Man, Into the Spider-Verse, and how that evolved, and maybe also, Leo, you could talk about how you two work together and how you know each other.
So the project started 7 years ago, and we had to stop many times because it's a self-finance project. So in order to pay our bills, we needed to get some other jobs that perhaps they were not as interesting as it was for us, the windshield wiper. And that's why I had to, jump into Spider-Verse or jump into other commercial projects in order to pay bills. This was beneficial for both projects because anything that I was doing for the windshield wiper, I was applying to Spider-Verse. Anything that I learned into Spider-Verse, I was applying it back into the windshield wiper. And I had to jump in the witness and had to stop again the windshield wiper. And then I did the commercial for Ubisoft, and then I jump again into the windshield wiper. So in a way, the hardest part was to keep the film alive. But it was actually very good for the film that I was kind of like doing these other projects because it was very beneficial in terms of style. I didn't choose the style per se. The style very much chose me. I am a self-taught artist, and every time that I start a project, I have no clue what I am doing or how do I start doing things. So very much this is the evolution of my art is very much the result of what you see in the screen. Like I never kind of like do research of, okay, what is this kind of style I would like to do? Very much I do what I know how to do the best, which is my style. I couldn't do anything else. I hope that, I suppose at some point, somebody will take over, and then I will become old news. But at the moment, it seems to be cool and popular and taking advantage of my own craft.
We're glad you're doing that too. Leo,
thank you.
Tell us about your studio and how you joined forces with Alberto.
I've known Alberto for 20 years. We met both in London. I mean, geographically, at least, we had similar paths, like London and LA. And then, yeah, my focus has been always in character creation, character development for 3D. I started after the studios. I started in 2012, my studio doing exactly that, multidiscipline, because that's what we want to do from the very beginning in development, kind of all the different departments in 3D, and that one thing led to another. In 2015, Alberto showed me his animatic. I was so engaged with it. I also had been looking to work with Alberto and his style and see how we could translate it into 3D. And again, it happened organically. It just happens is having branched together and say, well, let me just, I had that, at least for that part in the 3D and that know-how and the structure, just bring it in to start helping on that. And then one thing led to another into become this a bigger engagement and a co-production, as Alberto was just saying. And yeah, I think, well, as I was saying before, I mean, the main thing was to, same as Alberto, he's been describing his process to find the style, or the style finding him in a way. On at least for me personally, was really specifically trying to work on that, on his style. So for us on our side was more about helping figuring out that translation and bringing it to the screen. And then, yeah, adding to Alberto, I mean, the back and forth and why these projects, they take so long is just for obvious reasons and needs. I mean, in the future, just this new paradigm of like working and creating short films, as Alberto has been doing in the last few years, it's something that we hope to be able to do in that way. But the reality for us was like 7 years self-finance project. That's what it takes, like like a lot of stopping and going. And yeah, just to finish, to me, I think the biggest challenge was to continue working on it. When we will stop, just finalizing it. Just again, like one of these marathons that once you're in it, you really have to, get it done. So that would be my experience.
We have a lot of questions coming in from our viewers. A lot of people want to know about how you manage to juggle the world of commercials and maybe studio projects with your own passion projects that, express who you are as artists and really tell stories that are really important to you. Anton, I know you worked as a teacher, and then you also worked in the commercial world, and maybe you can tell us how you managed to kind of forge a path and become a director of a short animated Oscar-nominated short. How did that happen?
For me, advertising is in the past and long gone. And I was not happy there. I worked quite a lot there, but I had an artist trapped inside of me. I studied art at the uni, and I worked in graphics, and advertising did not allow me to really realize the things that I had within me. And for me, animation is actually saving grace. I was able to leave when I left advertising, I was quite successful in advertising. I could have continued working there, but animation is something that is required for the artist within me and for the film aficionado, because I love this this type of art, and those things come together in animation. And I am very happy that I was able to join kind of indie animation because my artistic journey and artistic search and my drive for different things, I studied together with many different artists, and I am used to different things joining together. And when I was accepted to a course for directors, I met people similar to me. All of us came from different places, but all of us shared something. And of course, the most fascinating thing was that we started working on scripts, working on ideas, developing ideas. And people like Yuri Nordstein, Mr. Domin, Mr. Nazarov, they had serious faces while reading our stupid scripts as we saw them. Like those giants, they were reading our scripts, and that really gives you energy. Turns out that what you do is that someone needs that someone likes that. And I am really grateful to all the people who taught me and all the people who I started with. And really, I was 30 years old at the time, and I became a student once more. That was hard. That wasn't easy to leave advertising and go into to study again. To have classes 6 days a week, full day of classes. We watched a lot of global animation. I discovered all of that, but then I went to a first festival and I discovered even more. So, I don't know. Right now, I only think that I made 2 or 3 steps out of 10 steps you need to succeed. And I'm just learning.
Okay, next up, we got Mikey and Dan. Can you tell us how your journey led you to Aardman? And, you also were able to balance commercials with other work, and maybe tell us how you pitched the story to the Aardman executive at Annecy.
Dan and I went to university together. We were doing this sort of theatre course called Technical Arts and Special Effects, and so both of us are kind of self-taught animators as well. We just like discovered later on, I guess, that stories were the things that excited us most. And so after uni, very few funded opportunities for films anymore. I think we both graduated during the 2008 crash, so there's like the sort of golden era of like funded short films is kind of over. And so we ended up doing quite a lot of ads whilst like discovering our narrative voice. So we shared a studio together initially just to sort of share equipment and kind of pool our resources. But what we found basically, I guess, over the sort of 7 years in which we ran this small studio together, that we would spend a kind of quite a small portion of our year doing commercial work, maybe like 3 months or something, and the rest of it we'd just be developing or like working on pilots or like writing comic books or just basically like developing long form projects. So Robin was one of those development projects that we had within our studio for many years. And it wasn't until we came to Annecy actually to show one of the pilots that we had worked, we'd like slaved like 2 years or something on this pilot. It's still great, but the thing that people responded to a lot better was this like 1-page idea. Or like we'd done a little picture book of it, but we hadn't animated anything. It was just the sort of a very well developed pitch. And we bumped into Sarah Cox, who's the sort of development executive at Aardman, just in the canteen at Annecy, and she was like, I've got 5 minutes, all right, okay, and so like, okay, this is it. And Dan was on his knees holding a laptop like this. I had written one of the songs.
Desperation.
Oh, you're back. Praying. I had memorized one of the songs, Magpie's song, which we had written at this stage, and so just thought, what the hell, let's sing it to her. So we sung this song, read her the picture book, and sort of amazingly she was as excited.
I was excited.
You take it down.
No, but and then sorry, I just cut in right at the end to say that it went quite quickly from us pitching it to Sarah, and you know, this project that we've been working on, just the two of us really for this so long, to just as soon as you share it with someone, to somewhat the first person to be just as excited and confident in it as us was amazing. And then a few months later we pitched it at Netflix, and it was the same reception there, and it happened very quickly making it. But I would say what Mikey was saying about kind of the making commercials and your own stories. One thing for me, which, because Mikey was sort of slightly ahead of me in terms of where he was at with making films and commercials, and I felt from coming from a uni, like, okay, I got to be a commercials director. That's the goal, you know, get your own style, and then you can like make films and make money. And I remember joining Mikey and him being like, it's about, we should be thinking of our ideas. That's the real value. And I was thinking, well, these like stupid little wisps of ideas that you have in the back of your head, how are they more valuable than than a big budget commercial? And but it's in doing, I don't know, that was the kind of very empowering, I think, to realize that actually your ideas, and if you believe in them and you're really passionate about them, they have more value than commercials, because at the core of them, you're trying to say something meaningful, or at least honest to other people. And that once I don't know, that was definitely through that stage, that was the reason why we were always more passionate and always put more time into our own projects, because it felt like I know the heart of them, and I care about them, and I want them to be real. So and that's something that, you know, not to say that some commercials and some, you know, things that are, you know, celebrate, I don't know, promoting things that you believe in are great, but for sure your own projects, I think, is where it's at.
Speaking of things that we believe in, your charming commercials, Joanna, they're just so lovely. You were able to juggle the world of commerce with the art of independent animation filmmaking and the festival circuit so beautifully throughout your career. Can you give us some advice about how it's done?
Just surround yourself with very talented people who and not be afraid to delegate. I learned a big lesson when I fell off a horse. I don't ride horses, that's why I fell off. And I broke my ribs, and we were so busy doing commercials and the film. And I just thought, because I couldn't move, so I had to stay in bed. And I just thought, it's a disaster. And of course, it went much smoother without me being there, because we had systems, you know, it's all about systems. And so I could leave and just sort of check things on the computer every now and again. But when I came back, you know, everybody was like really miffed, because it was so much better without me, you know, because, you know, I'm a little bit of a control freak, and, you know,
really?
and so I would like hold on to things and not let things go. And so it sort of streamlined everything when I wasn't there. But yeah, it's having good systems that allows you to delegate, because we were making films when we were doing like the last film, Family Ties, we were juggling. The problem is that as the director, even if you're getting other people to do the direction and everything, you have to be totally aware of everything that's going on, so that you can still liaise with the agency. So it's quite a lot of work, because you're still responsible. So if there's a problem, it's nobody else's fault but your own, you know. So it is quite hard to juggle everything and just be aware of everything that's going on. But we just had a really good team, I think.
Great. Yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely.
excellent people.
Tevo and Hugo, tell us about your team and how you were able to juggle everything while working on a very powerful story as well.
Yes, our team, I mean, we have a small team. How many are, Hugo? We are like 14 people in total. And
yes, in the stage we worked around 8 people.
Yes, and yeah, and everyone have a lot of different talents. For example, like, I mean, Hugo did was one of the animators, and also Hugo did the lighting and the camera. You know, also Hugo, you work in the art department too.
At the beginning, yeah.
At the beginning, yes. The Cecilia, she did like the production, the film production, and the wardrobe, you know. And yeah, man. Then we have a very multitask team, and that was very like amazing because we did the movie with like 10, 12 people, you know.
Tell us how the short has really made an impact in Chile, and people are all supporting it, and the politics there with the new president. Tell us about that.
Yes, it's very important for us. So yesterday, I have to say, yesterday we made a very important event in Chile. We are in LA but Cecilia and Constanza are in Chile. They send us some pictures from this event with a guy who was blinded with the police in the social outbreak. So we made a I don't know how to say, Tevo.
Inclusive, like inclusive screening.
Inclusive screening.
Yeah, for blind and deaf people.
And deaf people, yeah. Yesterday, so it was very, very, very important and very emotional because it's a very meaningful for the things we are living in Chile today. So the changing of this president, yeah, that we expected that was more. That was better than the previous president, you know.
Of course,
of course, it will be better. So we think that Bestia is removing so many things in Chile. So in the political way and in the social way and reflecting way. So the reception of the people in Chile by the moment is very good, not Tevo?
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, because well, Bestia is based on event that happened 45 years ago, but right now this kind of content is very actual. It's very, touch a lot of the emotions of the Chilean people, you know, and the reception is like it's really awesome, you know, like a lot of chatting, a lot of conversation about Bestia. Yeah, I think it's Bestia is a very emotional film for our culture today.
Excellent. That brings us to Leo and Alberto. Of course, the personal is always political too. So maybe you can talk a little bit about the commentary we were trying to make with the film about how we live today. You know, saturated with social media and technology and the isolation. The message of the short, maybe you can talk a little bit about that.
Well, basically what I wanted to talk about, or perhaps I realized later that what I wanted to say, because this is something that happened when you are making a film, you know more or less like a story or something that triggers inside you. But maybe it's later that you understand what your story is about. And perhaps when I went kind of like halfway into the project or even further, I realized that basically what I wanted to talk is about the situation of love nowadays, you know, by raising that question, what is love? Back in the time, love was very useful to create strong bonds and strong families, that they were, you know, we wanted to have as many kids as possible, right? Because by the age of 9, they start working on the fields. We don't do that anymore. Society changed drastically. We are very much self-centered. We are very much focused in our own careers and in our own lives. We go to a wedding, a couple of years later, we might go to a divorce. That doesn't mean that people was happier before. That doesn't mean that people was respecting love more before. It's just that, you know, everybody was very much based on commitment, and they were very much signing relationships for life. I'm not sure if that was better, but what we have now is very much different. And I think that the film reflects that indirectly, without trying to actually do it. I did it because that's where I am living. I live in that society. I am the one that is perhaps unreliable. I am the one that is super focused on my career and don't have time for anything else. There is no space for nothing else. And I am the person of today, compared to my parents, that they were together all their life and very happy. But there are some people that they might not be that happy that they are always together, right? So that was very much the take on the subject and what is going on nowadays.
Okay, now we get to dig into the audience questions. Let's see what we got. All right. One thing that everyone seems, you seem to have a lot of competition in the audience, because everyone wants to know, hey, I want to get nominated. I want to get nominated. They want to know, how did you manage to get nominated, and what was the best thing that you did? Other than advertising in Animation Magazine, what else was the best thing that you did?
I'll take the chance to say, hire Fumi, hire Benoit. That's already a good thing to go for us. I mean, that's our experience. For us, Alberto and myself, we are learning a lot through the process. And I mean, there is a lot of parameters that people that know and can drive you through the process. I mean, it's very specific. Getting through getting through festivals, there is certain things that you need to, specifics that you need to meet. Like there is a moment where you need to put the film in LA for a certain amount of time. And then there's the campaign to work through the shortlist. That's the big part that it's for us is, I mean, again, I've been personally just learning as I go. I'm sure that a lot of us here, besides Joanna and Les, they're probably going through the same phase. But yeah, shortlist, big campaign for that, then nomination, and then there is also the requirements for now where we are at for the final voting.
Anton, what did you learn about this whole process?
I haven't learned anything. I don't know how to do that.
Okay.
The studio, 𝗕𝗏𝗧 studio, took care of all of those things. They have ample experience because Konstantin Bronzit works at 𝗕𝗏𝗧, and he has been nominated in the past, and he knows some secret paths, so to say. And I didn't expect anything like this, but the studio was doing its thing in the background, and the film won a few awards at festivals. The festivals that Oscar pays attention to, or I don't know how it works. And these victories allow you to become part of the long list. And I think this covers everything I know about this process. And I am really grateful to the studio for liberating me from this process, because I hate bureaucracy, and doing paperwork makes me dumb.
All right, very good. Now it's Mikey and Dan. Tell us. Well, of course, you know you've pitched it at a festival, so that was the step one. Then what else did you learn? It's been a crazy period for you, just promoting the short and just going around with the Oscar circuit. Maybe tell us what you learned about the whole experience.
It's definitely kind of one of the highlights of the overall process. You as everyone here knows, you spend years in dark rooms. I mean, particularly stop motion animation, there was no natural light allowed, and with your head down over something, and then this little sort of 0.1% of the project where you get to kind of go out and talk to people and go out into the world and see the reactions is really exciting. I mean, for us, like one of the, having, as I'm sure everyone else here, having made this project through the pandemic, getting to do live screenings is just the most incredible thing, and seeing the reaction of people. And I mean, I think, excuse me, I think one of the best things about the whole Oscar experience is getting to sort of share a platform with all you guys. Like, I really genuinely love everyone's film here, which is such a rare thing to see in, you know, been to hundreds of short film screenings. And so for there to be a sort of shared conversation about particular shorts that you can kind of have with many people on many different walks of life, and to celebrate the short film format as a whole, I think is amazing, and such a rare cultural treasure. Excuse me. Yeah, you know, such a rare cultural thing that doesn't really happen anywhere else. But short films, you know, I could talk to like my neighbor about it and they'd be like, oh wow. Usually people don't care. So it's very cool.
It is really nice, this like being part of this nomination. I don't know what you call it. Gathering, is that what it's called? Because it you know, as Mike was saying, we haven't had film festivals or animation festivals, and they are actually, after all that slog and toil, they are just these amazing moments where you get to meet other animators. And one of the things that's most amazing about the animation industry is most people are really lovely and interested and interesting, and so just having a little taste of that in this selection is really energizing.
Joanna and Les, you're all pros at this.
Well, I mean, it's so different now because I don't think computers have been invented when we made Famous Fred.
They were.
Oh, I mean, I was literally, I don't remember any of this. I mean, I remember I was drawing a cloud on my light box and the telephone rang and I went, hello. And an American voice said, I'm just ringing to tell you you've been nominated. And I said,
what's that?
Really? You sure? What, me? You know, and they said, yeah. So I put the phone down and I thought, that's really strange. And I didn't believe, I thought maybe it was a trick. And so I went on director inquiries and found the telephone number of the Academy. And I rang them back to see if it was true because I didn't believe it. And they said, yes, it was true. So that's how different. So I had no idea about the long list, the short list, or anything. And then we went to
because of S4C.
Yeah, maybe. We were working with a television company, S4C. Maybe they did it all.
They did do it all twice.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we still didn't know anything about it. And then, but this time, because I guess it was our own thing. We financed most of it, and we were with the National Film Board. Were
this is their
past
thing,
masters of organizing the whole thing. Fantastic, you know. So it's very different to when we were first in it.
Yeah, amazing.
Tevo and Hugo, tell us how you picked your festivals. What was your strategy? What do you think worked?
Yes, I think the thing that I learned in this round is have like a distribution company is key. You know, like when we decided to go to Annecy in France, we met this company, Mielgo, and then after that they do all the strategy. You know, this kind of it's a very specific chess. You know, because it's a different knowledge, and they did all the film festivals, like one to next to each other, and then until today we won like 28 festivals. Different parts of the world, like Guadalajara, Interfilm Berlin, Chile Monos in Chile, South by Southwest here. Then all that thing like was very important to position us in the Oscar road. You know, like in the beginning we never think about the Oscar, to be honest. You know, and then after that we start like thinking. Then then the long list and then the short list. In the short list we hire like a PR here in LA, and then right now we are nominees, but everything is like it's kind of like surreal, you know. And yes, and it was a long trip.
I think I still find hard to like that I am nominated.
So, come on.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
no,
well,
it's real.
yes.
And that Bestia has come so far as we are today. So I think I learned to speak a little better English.
Good.
Just a little better, just a little better. I didn't really know what that meant, what this meant, public relations, promoting the short film. But then I realized that it's not that complex. It's just a matter of having a relaxed conversation about what your film is about. And it has been very interesting and tiring at the same time to participate in this kind of instance, like the Q&As and everything, especially the presential ones. To know much more about the other works is very important, and visions of the other artists, like we have in this conversation. It was very, very important for me. I think it's the most remarkable thing to know us, each other, with, I don't know, Mikey, Joanna, Leo, Alberto, Dan. Yeah, I think it's and Anton. We haven't the possibility to meet in person yet, but I hope to meet you in person and sometime. So I think this thing, it was very important for me to know each other.
Leo and Alberto, tell us what you learned.
We learned that definitely making a film is as important as promoting the film at some point. Something that we definitely learned. It's not because I had previous experience, but we realized that after COVID, things really changed, and especially the way of distribution or the way of viewing films is completely different now. Therefore, the way that you have to promote your film has to be different as well. So we wanted to be, sort of like imaginative in a way, and trying to think what it works with nowadays. Because because the film is personal, and I own the IP. We had the possibility to put it free online, and I have to say that was probably the closest to a big worldwide premiere, right? When we actually were able to, obviously when we opened in Cannes was amazing. It was like a super huge honor. But when we actually put it for free online and people were able to actually watch it, and then we start seeing like a huge amount of comments from all around the world, that was probably one of the most satisfying moments, I would say, even in my career, because you have a straight interaction and a straight contact with people that are watching the film, or people that just watched the film minutes ago. And that was indeed super, super cool. So it is a lot of time, it's a lot of work to promote a film. You don't want to be abusive, you don't want to be annoying also. You don't want to be like knocking in people's door, please watch my film, please watch my film. But that's very much what we are doing, right? It's just like, please fucking watch my film. So yeah, and I'm super happy also because this year, I'm not sure how were the other years anyways, but this year the films, they are like all of them super, super cool and very different also, story-wise, the themes, aesthetically as well. I think that something for sure that we can actually say about the five of us is that in terms of the look, none of us is following the mainstream commercial formula that has been killing a little bit this industry. And I am very proud for that, because we are very flexible. Animation is very flexible, and people like animation regardless if it's a commercial little toy coming out of the same houses. And it's very amazing to be all together on this and celebrating that animation is that amazing and wide and flexible.
Beautifully put. Very nice. We get to the point when people are asking about how to get your creativity going despite getting rejections. What do you do to get inspired and not get emotionally rejected when things go wrong? What do you do? What kind of tips do you give artists to keep going and continue creating? Anton, you're first.
Well, advice. I would value some advice, because it is often quite easy to become discouraged. Well, I don't know. For some reason, I think that I am not much different from a viewer. I am a viewer just like anyone else. And I believe that if you have a story, a script, an idea that resonates with you, then there is someone else who would value that. And even if you face a lot of rejection on this path, and it does happen, this doesn't mean anything. You just haven't found the person who is tuned in the same way as you are to this story. And I am searching for those people who are tuned as I am. I have been able to find some of them. For instance, the animators that helped me with the box ballet, I really want to continue working with them, and they also want that. And it is a huge success when you find such partners in crime. And maybe like my advice would seem banal, but just try not to become discouraged. And it sounds simple, and well, if you are discouraged at some point, then you need to understand that it's temporary. I pitched box ballet to many studios and they rejected me, but I kept my cool, my calm. I told myself it's okay. And then I saw a contest by Melnitsa, a script contest. I looked at this contest. There were 100 scripts that were that applied, but I was sure that I would win. Why was I sure, having been rejected so many times? I don't know. I don't have any formula here. I'm like a shaman. That's my method. I love intuition, and I love things that you cannot really express in words. And luckily, I do meet people who understand me. Sometimes the Melnitsa producer, I met him in the studio corridors a few times, and I asked him, Alexander, you are the producer. Do you want to see any working materials? And he told me, no, I don't. I will watch it when you want me to. I will watch it when you think that I need to. And well, he watched the film at the festival in 𝗔𝗙𝗙𝗪𝗏 when the first screening happened. And when he entered the audience, he told me, if the film is bad, I'm going to kill you, because I'm the producer and I don't know whether it's good or not. But then he left the room and he was quite happy. We had a few drinks and we celebrated. And why am I telling you this story? It is a very good thing if you're able to find people who trust you. And it might be even harder than find your love of your life. but you need to try to find those people. And all of those rejections that you face, it's all right.
Excellent.
Because sometimes at some point, quantity will become quality. So it will turn. That's what I believe in.
Mikey and Dan, what kind of crazy magic? What kind of crazy magic do you practice?
I love Anton's saying at some point, quantity will become quality. That's such a brilliant saying. I've not heard that before, but it's such a good way of explaining the kind of bridging the gap between what you can do at the start and what you are inspired by. You've just got to keep making stuff and work through the pain of it not looking as good as the stuff that you like. I mean, me and Mikey, I think we've been very fortunate because we have had each other to kind of like spur each other on and bounce things off. And
but yeah, I mean, we obviously we're very, very lucky to have to have a friend through all this. You spend so long doing these things, and to work with people that you like is so important. And as Anton beautifully put it, that when the quantity becomes quality. But I think that's it for us. We met so many people. The people have been the enablers, and we were always going to festivals, and we did shorts that toured festivals, and we'd tour with it, and that really, really extensive network of humans, of face-to-face humans that we built up. Ultimately, it just, in terms of this film, it was just one chance meeting with Sarah Cox, who I'd met 5 years earlier at Annecy and chatted to for 5 minutes. But then this time in the canteen, I knew who she was. I was like, hey, it's so much luck. But I think it's enabled by embracing people. You can't just sort of send out 10,000 emails and, hope that people are going to engage with you. As you have to be a human being as well out in the world. Yeah.
Joanna, tell us all about being human and your advice for carrying on and pushing through the creative spirit. And Les, both of you.
Well, I think we're a partnership, so we act like that, and Les pushes me all of the time, so when I do a drawing, he'll criticize it and say, no, do it from a different angle constantly. And so I then have to try it and say, oh yeah, you're right. So I'm constantly being taken out of my comfort zone by Les. And we're also opposites as well.
Totally.
He's a pessimist and I'm an optimist. I have total faith that everything's going to work out. And I think it does normally. But Les is a pessimist. And so we're quite well balanced. And it's definitely a team effort. I don't think it's just really good to have another pair of eyes on what you do and, to guide you.
Yes.
Yeah. I think all the other things that you've been talking about, the festivals are very important, that you actually put your film in front of people and you see, because you expect a reaction, you expect that, hopefully that people will like it. And until you get that, you're on a cliff edge, not knowing whether the film is going to succeed.
Yeah.
COVID in a way stopped a lot of the interaction between live audience and us and everybody else. That was a bummer. We didn't have an audience for 2 years, did we? A live audience. And we still didn't know, only from a sea of faces, maybe like we got now, whether anybody liked it, So that was...
I think, I got very depressed, during COVID because we had finished this film. And we couldn't tell whether it was good or bad. We had no idea because you're so close to it. And, I just presumed it was awful and it was a failure. And that's me being optimist. But then, I was getting obsessed about it. And then we went to our first festival in Syros. What a great first festival to go to, it was
Greek
beautiful,
paradise,
beautiful
Greek
paradise.
island with fabulous people,
And then
they all loved it.
and
we
then
went,
suddenly you're in with another group of people, all animators, all making the most beautiful films, you know, all fantastic. And you just think it isn't about your one film, it's about all of these films. And suddenly I remembered why I do animation, you know, and it's being part of this wonderful group of people who were so talented, you know, and making these beautiful films. And it put everything into perspective. And then I stopped worrying, you know, and just thought, well, you know, I should be proud we've finished a bloody film, you know, so whether it's a success or not.
Tevo and Hugo.
I think as Dani Ojari said, I think it's very important believing in yourself, in ourselves. You know, it's very important to have an idea in the beginning and put all the energy, all the effort to complete that idea. In this case, we do animation, you know, and the team behind is very important. And but I think the key is believe in the idea and keep going, work hard. And yeah, at the end, when it's like a baby, you know, at the end, when you see the baby, you know, like in your arms, and then, oh, you are ready to live in the world and go to the festival by yourself and defend yourself with your own hands. That's a very, very like amazing feeling, you know?
Yes, I think it's very important to speak truthfully in stories. To observe in order to be able to represent important stories in a very convincing way. I think that is more important than any material or technical aspect. And it's also important trust to you into your previous project, to the things that you learned in the previous projects, in the researching, in this experimentation. For example, to represent this woman in Bestia, I had to act like many others animators. It's a basic way to animate when you have to act the movements. And we decided to represent this in a very realistic acting. I had to mix my feelings with her feelings of this sinister woman. That was very difficult. This woman has a torturer, but sometimes you have to resort to your personal memories to give more truth to the action. So I approached this film in a very cinematic way, and if I had worked with actors, so that's why I decided to perform that had to be convincing and not so caricatured. So these decisions are very important in the work. So, and it's I think it's very important to experiment and to find your own style, to experiment in a different ways. And it's also important to listen all the people who give you an opinion, good or bad. For example, in the beginning, when I told some people about Bestia, they told me, "Why is so brilliant the faces? Why the faces are so brilliant? Why this woman torturer? Do you think it's weird?" And I thought, it's interesting that they find it weird. Maybe it's because they haven't seen it yet before, so it looks like we are doing well. So when it's a kind of technique for my to approach to some idea. So it's very important to listen every opinion. Every opinion has to be useful for ourselves and for you.
Oh, okay, Leo and Alberto, you're the last. You're gonna leave us with the most brilliant words because you're the last. We're running out of time, so no pressure on you.
No pressure.
Go for it.
I think that the most difficult thing is to actually trust yourself. I suppose I trust myself deeply, but of course many times you doubt, and those are the most difficult moments. When you have a cool idea, at first it's usually like an eureka, but when you live with it, you start kind of like questioning yourself a lot. Is this good? And then you start getting used to the idea. Is this good at all? Do people is gonna like it? I personally don't like to show too much. I personally don't like to share too much what I'm doing, especially if I am not fully convinced, or if I am kind of like writing something, or if it's work in progress. Many times when you show work in progress to people, their reaction or their faces, they might destroy you. So I kind of like usually protect myself a lot, and I don't like to show until I am like almost done, or until I am 100% sure that this is going to work. So I don't know, maybe this is against what a lot of people might say, but I usually protect my idea from everybody else more than anything.
I mean, the great thing about this is we all have different approaches. I mean, the kind of work that I do, it's more like always seems to be in progress in a way. So I feel the need to share it. Sometimes it's because it's obliged and it has to be done that way. Some other times it's because I like to have that input. But there is always a level where I want to keep it to myself until I feel comfortable enough. But it feels like pretty much always when I do something, I have to be sharing it, as it is constantly work in progress. But that's what I find fascinating. We all go through our own processes. I think for this film, to me, one of the biggest things is like we were sure that the windshield wiper had to be finished, done, and to the level of expectations that we all had on it. But at the same time, that to me was one of the hardest parts. And even as like working with Alberto, this is all a collaborative process. But it feels in a way that like it could be comparable, like when we were talking about, Alberto was talking about the love situations and how persistent and perseverant you need to be. Talking in this case with Alberto and myself, with the projects, with everything going around, it's really something that you need to keep going and keep going. And as I said before, a bit of that marathon syndrome in a way is like you just want to get to the end line. So for me, it's been a big experience, particularly being an independent project, as I'm usually more involved in commercial projects. So yeah, that would be my take.
Beautifully put, beautifully put. And on that note, I want to thank all of you for giving us your time and your brilliant words of wisdom. It's a crazy world out there, so it's really warms our heart to see all the work that you've done, which inspire us with your beautiful art. Thank you so much for your time. Anton, Mikey, Joanna, Les, Tevo, Hugo, Leo, and Alberto, and Danny. Thank you all so much for being with us today. Thank you, VIEWConference and Festival, October 16th through the 21st. Thank you, Maria Elena Gutierrez. Thank you for all our viewers. I wish I could read all their comments. There are so many people who wrote and said how much you have impacted their lives with your beautiful art. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks.
Thank
you so much.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
Thank you.
Take care, everyone.